that's a sign that sort of the professional guardrails for American foreign policy have been removed, and countries around the world are going to seek ways to mitigate an unpredictable America. And that means they'll be raising their own defense budgets. Those that can pursue nuclear programs might well do so, thinking they have to protect themselves. They may rush into the arms of other strategic competitors like China and Russia. And all of this means that we can expect more conflict in the medium and longer term.
Well, it has felt like a very long week, but it has been less than a week since that American operation to extract Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela. In the meantime, the US has upped its rhetoric on seizing Greenland. It's also snatched 5 tankers across the Atlantic and Caribbean, and a Trump ally in the Senate even threatened that the president was planning to kill the Ayatollah in Iran. Despite running under the banner of America First, 2026 has begun with foreign policy dominating Trump's agenda with a vengeance. Let's hear now from Ambassador Brian Nichols, who's Assistant Secretary for Western Hemisphere Affairs until January of last year. He served under both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Good afternoon to you, Ambassador.
It's great to be with you, Kathy.
Well, there's so much to discuss. I mean, I don't think we've got time to discuss it all, but let's start with Venezuela, because I wonder when you heard about this operation to extract Nicolas Maduro less than a week ago, as I say, did you feel, what was your reaction?
Well, as you alluded to, it's hard to believe it's been 6 days, but the quality of the intelligence that the United States is able to collect and the talent of our special forces operators is unmatched. The high-risk operation to remove Maduro was quite impressive from a technical standpoint, but it lacked the grounding in international law or even U.S. domestic law, I would argue.
Yeah,
And
but
I
does
was
that
very
matter?
surprised.
Because, Trump...
Not to Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. He says he doesn't care about international law. But is there a sense that the people who voted him in don't either? And actually, yes, you can take serious issue, as many people have, with the legalities of this, but he's achieving results, which is what he said he would do.
Well, the most recent polling that's come out today and yesterday indicates that there has been significant movement in public opinion, at least on the MAGA side, toward Trump. And he's always maintained that the MAGA base is in favor of whatever he says it should be in favor of. Nonetheless, yesterday the Senate did advance a war powers resolution that will curtail the freedom that he has, the latitude that he has to carry out some of the actions that he's been doing. And I think we're seeing the signs of concern and constraint even among Republicans in Congress.
Interesting. And just in terms of just the comparison with Donald Trump and Joe Biden, Joe Biden, obviously, you imagine, would never have carried out an operation like this. Is that also, does that show his limitations, that the fact that he wanted to sort of work within international institutions, did that ultimately hold him back?
Well, I think that President Biden's view was that we should not be seeking to enter into conflict, that we should be working to maintain a broad international coalition to support democracy, the rule of law, elections in Venezuela. And we were able to achieve an opposition primary, an election in Venezuela that saw the opposition candidate, Mundo Gonzalez, internationally recognized as having beat Maduro in that election. We secured the release of political and American prisoners in Venezuela. So I think we did have some important successes. And I think you will see antibodies develop in the international community to the type of unilateral action that the Trump administration has carried out. You've already seen the Security Council debate in which the United States was criticized roundly by countries for having engaged in a unilateral action to remove Maduro. And a similar debate took place in the Organization of American States.
And obviously then, that ties in with Greenland as well, because those incredible assertions about what he planned to do in Greenland, not ruling out military action, brought condemnation from around the world. Does it how confident are you of Donald Trump's commitment to NATO?
I'm not very confident in that, unfortunately. NATO has been a crucial bedrock of international peace and security for generations. And the idea that the national security strategy of the United States would be so critical of our European partners, the strategy released at the beginning of December, and then to have the president make these repeated assertions with regard to a NATO ally's territory, even when more measured statements come out of Secretary Rubio, and then he walks that back and says, "No, no, no, I am willing to use force to achieve this," is deeply worrisome, and I think it's deeply worrisome to the vast majority of the American people.
Well, when you served under President Biden, did the strategic value of Greenland ever lead to a discussion comparable to what is being tabled today? An idea that in some way the US would get its hands on some of those natural resources buried beneath the Greenland?
The United States has the ability to operate out of military bases in Greenland. Um, Greenland is a region that is open to investment. Our view was that there was never an obstacle to the United States working with Denmark and the people of Greenland to provide security and look for economic opportunities. And the idea that we would force Denmark to give up Greenland was something that was never entertained.
Hmm. So let's come to Iran. We're doing a sort of whistle stop tour around the globe, but I mean, that does seem to be what President Trump is doing right now. Lindsey Graham saying, "We're going to kill you," to the Ayatollah. Stephen Miller reinforcing that might is right. I mean, do you see Iran as potentially Trump's next intervention? And how risky is that?
Oh, well, certainly the United States and the UK have a challenging history in Iran. Uh, the Ayatollahs, the leadership of Iran, they're awful, just like Maduro in Venezuela is awful. I think a unilateral action to decapitate the regime would not be indicated at this moment. I don't see the reconstitution of their nuclear program as something that's imminent after the strikes that have already taken place. I think that the Iranian people are now into their second week of very, very active protest against the regime. When your opponent is digging itself in a hole, the best thing to do is let them.
Well,
So I would
except that
have.
Donald Trump did promise to come to the help of protesters who are now, suffering from a crackdown from the Ayatollah. Does he need to make good on that promise?
Uh, Again, I think that this is something that uh, the United States is better to let Iranians determine inside. And to the extent that the United States uses force in one theater after another, it generates resistance among other nations. And we will pay the price from many different quarters for our actions. And beyond that, our strategic rivals like China and Russia are going to see the United States actions as a de facto green light to their taking action in their perceived spheres of
Right.
influence.
Well, that brings me to my final question, really. And it is this: upending all the old rules of the global world order, as Donald Trump has done, does that make the world a more dangerous place? Is he responsible for doing that?
Certainly over the medium and longer term, absolutely. And the idea that, or the fact that the Trump administration is withdrawing some 30 American ambassadors who are career diplomats from around the world who are providing sage, independent advice to the president and our people who've dedicated themselves to working under both parties' leadership, that's a sign that sort of the professional guardrails for American foreign policy have been removed, and countries around the world are going to seek ways to mitigate an unpredictable America. And that means they'll be raising their own defense budgets. Those that can pursue nuclear programs might well do so, thinking they have to protect themselves. They may rush into the arms of other strategic competitors like China and Russia. And all of this means that we can expect more conflict in the medium and longer term.
Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us. That was Ambassador Brian Nichols, who until January last year was Assistant Secretary for Western Hemisphere Affairs, who served under both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So great to hear his perspective.